With the 2017 Hajj at hand, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria Nahcon is not leaving anything to chance. Adequate preparations are being made. One such effort is the meeting with the leadership of the Association of Hajj and Umrah Operators of Nigeria to evaluate their state of preparation. The meeting, which was chaired by Nahcon Commissioner of Policy, Personnel, Management and Finance, Mr. Yusuf Adebayo, took place at Nahcon headquarters in Abuja. The issues discussed include accommodation in Medina, accommodation in Mecca, tent and feeding fees, dateline on seat allocation, update on e-track, refund for services not rendered.
Your passengers always stay 2-3 days in Medina. So, but the hotel are 5-star hotel within Makassar. They are good hotel. They are not local hotel. They are within Makassar, close to Hilton, all those buildings close to Hilton. So we think you could use some of them at a better rate rather than to take from other service providers.
The fund of 5 million deposit to those who did not participate in the last Hajj, we have refunded about 44 of them. The remaining one we have sent to chairman.
On the seats allocated to them, whether or not they will use all the seats. But as of today, we've received not more than 10 requests from the tour operators, some reducing their seats allocation, some requesting for increase.
We are discussing at the association level is, look, there is a need for the tour operators to come together. See, because it will assist in reducing the costs of even the Hajj.
The meeting ended with Nahcon urging the tour operators to meet the deadline set for the return of the list of pilgrims registered with them. The national president of the Association of Hajj and Umrah Operators of Nigeria, Alhaji Abdul Fattah Adeniyi, appreciated Nahcon for providing leadership, saying they are satisfied with all arrangements made so far.
Virtually all grey areas have been addressed. And you will now see during the course of the meeting that deadlines were set. We agree on calendar of events. This will happen, this will happen. So we are set, inshallah. And that shows that Nahcon has really been able to carry us along. And we have also been able to see that, okay, this will happen, and we've agreed. So in a way, we thank God for everything, and it went well.
The chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Nahcon, Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar, says the Buhari-led administration has in the last 2 years achieved a lot in making Hajj better in Nigeria. Barrister Abdullahi stated this while answering questions from journalists, disclosing that the federal government introduced several reforms which contributed in making the Hajj exercise hitch-free. He spoke in Hausa.
All the achievements recorded in Hajj operations in these 2 years are based on the policies of President Muhammadu Buhari. Just as he is paying attention in other organizations, the same he does in Hajj Commission. Immediately he assumed office, he directed that we move our Jeddah office to Mecca, where the pilgrims stay. This helped us to take care of the pilgrims' welfare, their health and other needs. Secondly, President Buhari directed that Hajj officials must always be with the pilgrims. No official should stay in VIP tents. This too allowed for improvement in accommodation, sanitation in Muna and Arafat, as well as feeding pattern of pilgrims.
The Nahcon chairman added that the Buhari government made sure there were significant improvements in airlift operations by insisting that flight deadlines are met.
Alhamdulillah, ƙarƙashin shugaban ƙasa Muhammadu Buhari aka samu nasaran da.
Under Buhari's government, we recorded huge success in airlift operations of pilgrims. Today, we airlift over 90% of our pilgrims on schedule. Also, it is under Buhari's administration that in 2015, over 1.5 billion naira were funded to pilgrims for services not rendered. kuɗi har naira biliyan 1.5 billion.
This is a sign of good leadership to give people what belongs to them.
The Saudi Food and Drug Authority warns pilgrims and other customers from buying Zamzam water in unauthorized shops across the kingdom. The warning came after the Ministry of Commerce and Industry seized more than 3,000 bottles of adulterated Zamzam water in Medina. The ministry says it has so far closed the illegal factories in Makkah, Medina and Hajj, where the Zamzam water is mixed with normal water and then sold as pure Zamzam.
Preparations for the 2017 Hajj is progressing steadily. So far, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Nahcon, and state Hajj officials have announced the Hajj fare package for pilgrims in their respective states. For this year, the fares differ from state to state, with Oyo State having the highest fare of 1,584,069 naira 2 kobo, while Katsina and Ondo states have the lowest. Ondo has 1,485,096 naira 7 kobo, and Katsina with 1,498,502 naira 70 kobo.
Why the Hajj fare this year is announced individually. The cost of accommodation in State A is not the same with that of State B. Let's say you have the same range of accommodation in about 5-6 typologies. Good. So you would say there will be 6 ranges of Hajj fare. Nominally, yes. But by the time you come here, what other local charges are you going to charge? There you have some more differences.
To arrive at the Hajj fare for each state, Nahcon used a template known as the Hajj fare component. It is divided into two, namely the federal component and state or local component.
Federal component mainly consists of what is in mostly foreign currencies, like the airfare, the cost of accommodation, the cost of feeding, the cost of land transportation in Saudi Arabia, and related issues. And then you have local components, like I said before, with the state charge for the uniform, for their yellow card, for the suitcases and bags of their pilgrims, and issues like that. These are what constitute the Hajj fare.
The exchange rate plays a vital role in the determination of the Hajj fare because the major parts of Hajj components involve the use of foreign currency, especially the US dollar.
In the federal component, you have issues that consume a lot of money, up to $4,000 to take care of airfare, accommodation, feeding, royalty, unified agent fees, and stuff like that in the Holy Land, which you have to pay in dollars. And maybe you also link that up to the pilgrim's basic travel allowance. All this come in foreign currency, dollar denominated, you would say. For a long time, up to $4,000. But then, what is the quantum of naira that would purchase $4,000 for you across time?
The rate of dollar 2017 is not the same thing with 2016. If pilgrims were given dollar at official exchange rate of 197 in 2016, the official exchange rate today is over 300, which means the dollar component will naturally affect the cost of Hajj. So if it will affect the cost of Hajj, you have to look inward. What saving measures will you bring out to cushion that effect?
The many measures taken by Nahcon to cushion the impact of the exchange rate on the Hajj fare include eliminating third-party interference, in securing accommodation, which led to the crashing of its cost in Medina and Mecca. By doing this, Nahcon saved more than $12 million from houses secured in Medina, while in Mecca, it saved over 1 billion naira for the country.
We have to do something about the accommodation to make sure that people pay the right price and get value for their money. And in that process, we decided to eliminate agents in Medina and deal directly with the landlord. Through this reform, to be able to save Nigerian pilgrims and the Nigerian government $12.3 million in Medina and 14 million Saudi riyals in Mecca now, which is the latest saving or discovery we made, plus saving the governors the agony, the pain of using public funds to augment pilgrims' accommodation in Mecca.
On the Medina accommodation alone, which is handled by the Commission solely, a saving of about $187 is made per pilgrim. This is done through hiring the accommodation directly from the landlords, not going through accommodation agents, where in some cases you could have up to 7 layers of agents, one taking the house and then another taking it from him, then like that until Nahcon takes it from the last one.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria made another stride in this regard by securing a favorable exchange rate of 305 naira to the dollar.
The Commission had proactively beseeched government to secure the 305 exchange rate. It's a big advantage also. Otherwise, it ought to have been 365 or thereabout, which is the interbank rate, if you like. So a difference of about 15 naira once again. I mean, I'm sorry, about 60 naira between, which would have taken the fare, which now goes for about 1.5 million naira per pilgrim, to about 1.8 to 1.9. It would have been that far. It would have gone that far.
To further reduce the financial burden on intending pilgrims, Nahcon for the first time invited heads of pilgrims boards from the 36 states, including FCT and the armed forces, to defend the rate for each component of the Hajj fare. The idea is to ensure that pilgrims are not charged fees that are not necessary. This exercise also brought about a drastic reduction in the fees charged for some Hajj components at the state level. At the defense, Nahcon gave detailed presentation of the two components to the states one after the other, after which they were allowed to make input. It is after this exercise that a decision is taken on what amount should be charged for each component to make up the Hajj fare of each state. At the conclusion of the exercise, Nahcon chairman, the state bosses and other officials concerned then appended their signatures on the document representing the Hajj fare. Attached to each document was a letter addressed to each state governor for his consideration of how Nahcon arrived at a given Hajj fare for states.
That in itself is a sign of transparency.
Officials from states appreciated Nahcon for introducing these reforms, stressing that without this, the Hajj fare would have been more than 1.5 and 1.4 million naira fixed.
If not for the reforms, we would have paid nearly 2 million naira. I salute the leadership of National Hajj Commission of Nigeria and his team for these new innovations, and we want to assure them that we will key into all the developmental strides they have taken, and we throw our weight behind Abdullah Mukhtar and his team.
I am very much happy that the calculation, computation, and what have you is done in front of every stakeholders here, and it is good that we practice this type of operation because it makes everybody agrees with what has happened.
Very good. Well, this is openly, everybody knows the situation, the current situation in the country. This is we are just praying. Let the government look into it by next time, over next year, by the grace of God.
I will extend my
my thanks to Nahcon too, in that we are having the lowest Hajj fare in the whole federation, as far as I know now.
Indeed, I'm very, very happy with the case of Yobe, because even the committee clapped for Yobe due to our admin charges, that is the least all over the 36 states. We don't know the other remaining states that are going to be appeared. So this is very, very encouraging. We are really encouraged. If not for the reform, we should be looking at the Hajj fare to be far above 2 million naira. But with this reform, though it's quite high, but with the reform, I believe when people are being told on the essence and where the components involved, they will appreciate the fact that the National Hajj Commission, being headed by the chairman, had did a lot of great job for pegging the Hajj fare at the minimum average of 1.5 million.
One aspect that Nahcon left out as optional while announcing the Hajj fare is the payment for Hadaya.
The ulama have told us, in itself, is not compulsory, depending on the type of Hajj the pilgrim wants to perform. The pilgrim wants to perform Ifrad, for instance, just Hajj, no Umrah attached. He doesn't need to sacrifice any animal, according to the jurists. So why would you force him to pay for the Hadaya?
Though the Hajj fare differ from state to state, Nahcon has fixed $800 for each pilgrim as basic travel allowance, bringing an end to what obtained in the past. In that regime, there were small, medium, and maximum tickets, which allowed pilgrims to collect $1,000 or $1,500 as BTA. Hajj Talk this week focuses on Hajj and its different types. Guiding us on this is the Chief Imam of Nasfat Mosque, Abuja branch, Imam Sharafuddin Abdul Salam Aliagan. Imam Sharafuddin says anyone wishing to perform the Hajj will have 3 types of Hajj to choose from and make an intention. These are Hajj Tamattu'i, Hajj Al-Qiran, and Hajj Al-Ifrad.
Ifrad is the one who observe Ihram with intention of performing only Hajj without Umrah. You understand? This person will not perform Umrah at all throughout the 3 months of Hajj period. Such a person will only have one singular intention of performing Hajj. And this is mostly observed by people around Saudi Arabia, people living in Mecca, in Medina, in Jeddah, and the surroundings, where one can easily travel by road. All those areas are required to perform Ifrad. Though other places, people come from other places can perform it, but it's majorly for those living around Mecca and Medina. Ifrad means having the intention of performing only Hajj without Umrah during the period of Hajj.
How then can pilgrims declare their intention for performing the Ifrad after reaching their miqat?
If someone is performing Ifrad, you say, Allahumma labbaika thumma labbaika hajjan. He will not join the Umrah. So that means such a person is performing the type of Hajj that is called Ifrad, singular Hajj. No Umrah is attached to it.
The Imam then explains the second type of Hajj, which is Qiran.
Qiran is called accompanying Hajj. Accompanying Hajj. That is Umrah that will go along with Hajj. That is Qiran, combining the two together. That is Hajj and Umrah. So at the miqat, where every pilgrim is required to observe Ihram, such a person will have the intention of performing both Hajj and Umrah at the same time. So when you observe ihram with the intention of performing both Hajj and Umrah in the type of Hajj that is called Qiran, and you are known as Qarin, you will not get out of ihram throughout the period of Hajj until you perform Tawaf al-Ifada.
What then is Hajj to Tamattu'i?
Tamattu, enjoyable Hajj. Hajj that is attached to enjoyment. You would not observe the intention of Hajj at the beginning. You only have the intention of Umrah. Labbaik Allahumma Umratan. I answer your call, O Allah, to perform Umrah. Intention, the type of Hajj is Tamattu, enjoyable Hajj. You're going to have the intention of only Umrah. So when you get to Mecca, you go for Tawaf. When you finish Tawaf, you observe 2 rakah. After observing 2 rakah at Maqam Ibrahim, possible for you, then you drink Zamzam and you go for Sa'i, you bayna Safa wal Marwa. Movement between Safa and Marwa. Then you cut down your hair or you shave it completely. Then you have performed Umrah. And that is Hajj Tamattu, because after that one, after shaving, then you get out of Ihram and relax. That relaxation is the enjoyment they are talking about. That you will be free to move about, do so many other things until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, that you come back to observe Ihram, observing new intention for the proper Hajj.
But while declaring intention for the Hajj on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the Imam says pilgrims will not go back to Miqat again to do that.
You take your Ihram at your own place. You don't go back, because you have already made the intention in your coming in to Mecca at your Miqat, your appointed place of Ihram. So on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, in your hotels, in your house, in your room, you take the bath, have your intention, put on your Ihram clothes, and proceed to Mina, you understand, to go and pass the night. Then you proceed to Arafah on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. So there's no need of going back to Miqat.
With this description, the summary of it is that Ifrad is Hajj without Umrah. Qiran stands for Hajj and Umrah combined without break in Ihram, and Tamattu'i is Hajj and Umrah with break in Ihram. From these 3 types of Hajj, pilgrims have a window to choose the one they want to perform from whichever part of the world they come.
All the 3 are optional. All the 3 types of Hajj are depending on your program, your time, where you are living, where you are coming from, and how you wish to program yourself for the Hajj.
Worthy of note while observing any of the 3 types of Hajj is that in each, pilgrims must perform the obligatory parts of Hajj, which are Ihram or the Hajj cloth, staying at Arafat, walk between Safa and Marwa, and Tawaf.
All other obligatory and the compulsory aspects will be binding on all the 3 types of Hajj.
Despite this, there are non-compulsory aspects of the Hajj that pilgrims will not observe when performing a particular form of Hajj. Animal sacrifice is one of such and is not compulsory for pilgrims whose intention is for Ifrad. But Imam Ali Agan has this suggestion for pilgrims from Nigeria on the type of Hajj that is favorable to them.
As a Malam, wherever I am addressing the pilgrims, I will always encourage them to perform Tamattu. And if they are performing Tamattu, they will all observe Hadaya, or in other words, if they don't have the means of observing the Hadaya there, they can come back home. They will fast 3. They will fast. They observe fasting 3 days in Mecca and come back home to observe 7 days of fasting, making 10. Understand? I can decide to say, I don't even have the money for Hadaya. I want to use the money for other things. Possibly that's another reason.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا